So, okay, when I was about 19 years old, my brother and I were hitting, that age where you're just a little too old to be going on family trips anymore. And my dad was realizing the window was kind of closing for like getting us together to go on some kind of family trip. So he sat us down and he's like, hey kids, I want to let you know you have an aunt named Gertrude in Germany who you've never met. She's this like late 80s woman. She's like 4'11". She's not going to be around for much longer. So I think it would be really important if we as a family went to Germany to see your aunt one more time. And my brother and I were like, that's amazing. Like, I was 19, he was 15. We'd never been to Europe before. You know, we'd heard these wonderful things about how artistic and cultural and interesting Berlin was. And, Frankfurt had all this beautiful history, and Munich had all these great museums. And then he told us, and she's in this town called Bad Sassendorf. And what's fascinating about Bad Sassendorf is that it is not on any conventional maps that I could find. Nor, at the time, did it have a presence on the internet. So we were getting ready to go on this trip, and everyone was like, don't worry about learning German. Like, everybody in Germany speaks English. Like, you have nothing to worry about. So, like, my whole family didn't. I learned a little bit because I was like, I want to be the one who, like, orders a drink in German or whatever. So we fly to the Munich airport, and then we drive about 2.5 hours to find Bad Sassendorf. And the thing we realized as soon as we're there is that outside of the cities in Germany, nobody speaks English. That is a huge lie that everybody speaks English. And I'm like, don't worry about this, guys. I've looked up a couple words in German. This is going to be great. Somebody opens a door for us, and I want to say thank you. Everybody knows. What's the German word for thank you? Danke, danke or dankeschön. Yeah. I say, with literally, I put my finger towards the heavens. I say, Bundestag, which is the name of the German Parliament building. So if you invert that story, that's like a German exchange student saying, the White House, when you open the door for them. As you do. The Peace Tower, yes. So we are just terrified that this is going to be, and our aunt, we know, does not speak very much English, we don't speak any German, so we're just like, we are setting ourselves up for failure. And then we meet this woman, and she is the picture of adorability. She's 4'11", she's so full of life, she doesn't even need to speak any English because she just communicates with smiles. It's the greatest. And like, this small town that she lives in is so perfect. It's the exact opposite of what I thought Germany would be like. It's all like 2-story buildings, like they didn't build any higher, so you have this like beautiful bird's egg blue sky everywhere right above you. And at one point we're walking through a forest and we take a wrong turn and there's this field full of rabbits, and it's like, and we're like, these rabbits probably like started their own society, like it's a Watership Down turned out okay, like. At one point we go to this restaurant that's a cheese restaurant, because that's a thing that exists, and I'm like, I'm gonna get the cheese salad, and there's just a pile of cheese. There's no salad. And at one point, I just said out loud, guys, Germany is adorable. And like everyone else who's ever uttered those words, it was bound to end poorly. So our time is coming to an end in Bad Sassendorf. We've had a lovely time with this 4'11" pile of joy that is my Aunt Gertrude. And we're trying to figure out the best way to get back to the Munich airport so we can fly home. And my dad says, look, we're having such a good time in Germany, let's push back our flight a day. Let's see another place. Let's go to like some other city in Germany, just walk around, explore, look at the cool history. We're like, that's a great idea. This has been an adorable trip. So my dad, being an engineer, he pulls up a map and he's like, what is literally equidistant between Bad Sassendorf and Munich? And it is a charmingly named city called Worms. W-O-R-M-S. Worms, Germany, or as the Germans call it, Worms. And the day we're driving into Worms, where we have decided we're going to stay, it just starts pouring rain. There is like, literally, there is a crack of lightning, and then we see a sign that says, welcome to Worms! Like, it's just terrifying. We get in, we get to this hotel, which I actually looked it up online today to make sure it's still open and hasn't been condemned, called the Hotel Faber, which the best review on TripAdvisor.com for it says, could use a good clean. That was a 3-star review. That that person has low standards. So we get into this hotel, and there's this concierge who you could tell has been there a while, because like his clothes are looking all rumpled and stuff, and he's like, I'll take you up to your rooms. And we go up, and we find the room that my brother and I are gonna stay in, and the guy goes to open the door, and the doorknob like falls off, and then we look, and clearly someone has kicked in the door. Like there's all this damage around it, and we're like, oh, like did someone break into that room? He's like, don't worry about it. They rarely come back to the scene of the crime. Which, curious use of rarely in that sentence, I want to say. So we're like, no, we're gonna get another room, and he's like, fair enough. So he moves us to this other room. And we're like, well, we're gonna go for dinner, and he's like, well, there's a good Italian restaurant down the road. So we go to this Italian restaurant, and they're out of tomato sauce. And like, everyone on the street in Worms, Germany looks like, I guess, what normcore would have been in the Soviet Union in the 80s. Like, just jackets that are like 4 colors, like dudes who like have the, like they're like, it's clear they're trying to imitate American styles, so they like have flat tops even though they're like white dudes. This is Worms, Germany, where like this is kind of actually scary. So and it's raining really bad, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go back to our room. We're just gonna stay in our hotel, just like wait it out until we get to go tomorrow morning. So we're like, fair enough. So my brother and I go back to our hotel room, and we're like, there's not a lot to do. Let's turn on the TV, see what's on German TV. So we get the clicker, we turn it on. You know how on hotel TVs there's like a landing channel? It's like the channel it goes to right away. It's usually like, welcome to the hotel, like here are your options, like that thing. In this particular hotel, it was hardcore German pornography. So we turn it on, immediately 4 dudes just kind of going at it. My brother and I like, whoa, so we like change the channel. And then we're like, does it do this every time? So we turn it off, and we turn it on again, hardcore German pornography, like straight away. And we're like, our dad might find this funny. So like we call our dad, and we're like, Dad, come on, I want to show you something that's on TV. He's like, okay. We turn it on, goes straight to golf. And we were like, we swear it was hardcore German pornography. And he's like, okay, kids. Like, it's like the pokeroo or something. Like, it only turns on when you're not expecting it. So my brother and I are periodically turning on the TV, and like, each time we turn it on, we're like, gonna flip away, and then we're like, this is like, it's not erotic, it's just kind of interesting to look at. Like, the geometry was fascinating, like, all the stuff, like, it was not, and like, every time though we were like, okay, after a minute, we're like, we gotta stop watching this, like, this is not okay, so we flip away. And then my brother went to bed, and I was like, I kinda wanna watch some more hardcore German pornography. So like, I turn it on, watch for a couple minutes, I'm taking notes, like, it's weird, go to bed. So the next day, we are going to check out of the Hotel Faber. My mom has gone to get the car, my brother has gone with her. So my dad and I are at the front desk. And we get the bill. My dad looks at it, and he says, I don't think any of us watched pornography 7 times over the course of the one night we were here. And he was like, why were we charged 7 times for pornography? And the guy was like, oh no, someone watched pornography 7 times. And then I am like, but it came on every time you turned on the TV, and like no one believed me, and my dad's like, go wait in the car, this is not okay. So I'm like, through no fault of my own, because it just kind of turns on itself, I had kind of ruined the family vacation. So my dad comes out to the car, and he's kind of laughing a little bit, and I'm like, what's funny? He's like, I'll tell you later. So we're at the airport, my dad and I are away from my mom, and I'm like, what's funny? He's like, well, after you interceded to try to explain the German pornography, the guy was like, oh, so were the young ones watching the pornography? And my dad was like, yeah, I guess they were. Like, we weren't really supervising them that well. Like, you know, this is weird, but thanks. And apparently the guy took a pen, crossed off all the charges, and said, well, boys will be boys. And the coda to this story is my Aunt Gertrude sadly passed away last year at the ripe old age of, I think, like 150 or something. And I am actually going to Germany next week for the first time since then, and I am going to stay the hell away from Worms. It's terrifying. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been great.